Mental health content creators are making me more anxious. As we get more online and we have more access to resources, there's always new communication styles to learn and new labels and little intricacies to different diagnoses and attachment styles and personality types. Even as a clinical psychologist and someone who's trained extensively in this, I feel like every time I open up an app and I'm on a mental health creator's page, there's always something that it's like, oh, I didn't know about that before. Maybe I should start doing that. Maybe I didn't know that was an issue that I had. Things are always kind of swinging in like a pendulum. When we have too little talk around mental health and everything's just kept under the surface, that's obviously not helpful. But in some ways, I almost feel like technology has allowed us to be able to do the opposite. You've just got this never-ending stream of content, new information, new ways of looking at a diagnosis. Every single mental health experience, whether it be typical for development or atypical, and it's very hard to separate out what is helpful and personally relevant to us and what is either not relevant to us or noise, absolutely wrong, kind of misinformation. I was thinking about this recently when I was listening to an Andrew Huberman podcast, and it was about motivation. And I actually went to the gym in this time, and I got on the treadmill, and it was 40 whole minutes later into the podcast, and he still hadn't gotten into what it was that increased motivation. It was still about defining terms, differentiating all the different schools of thought, and I feel like there's almost like an over-optimization and hyper-specificity. I'm not at all saying that Andrew Huberman is terrible or anything like that, and he does like a great one on like sleep, and there's some lovely aspects to what he talks about, but you know, the average person doesn't need sunlight exposure first thing in the morning, ice baths, certain showers, certain, exercise routines, certain grams of protein with energy. There's just so much information. When someone with a title is telling us this information, naturally, and I do too, you kind of go, oh, well, they're really intelligent and they must have so much information that's important to me, and so I have to absorb it all and I have to listen and do it, right? But the reality is, we have a lot of the information. Mental health does not need to be about understanding 1,000 separate hacks and building them into your life. In fact, I'm starting to see this kind of over-optimization, over-education, over-fixation on getting the perfect productivity, squeezing as much as we can into a day. That actually makes our mental health deteriorate. It leads to something where we are never feeling like we've done enough, because when you kind of feel like you have a bit of a schedule and things are going well, you're like, okay, well, how do I optimize my life more? How do I bring in another psychology hack? How do I learn another thing? And we have limited time and energy and effort, and if we spend all day researching, learning, optimizing, changing what's in our lives, where's the part about just kind of trialing and error, like just seeing how we go and making mistakes and trying it a bit different? Or where's the part about just taking some space and just being and just kind of sitting there and not doing that much? And there are so many protocols around exactly how you structure your schedule. And I guess one thing I've learned about psychology through practice is there is never a one-size-fits-all rule. Never. And you can bring together every single scientific paper and all of its findings, and it's helpful to present overall what's helpful to a lot of people or what people have found helpful. But if we take the rule or the optimal and we put it to our own lives, that is not going to guarantee success, because we need to learn how to follow it properly and in a way that suits us. And secondly, the most important thing is we actually need to genuinely integrate and make it a lifestyle change. And when there's 1,000 things to be doing, how do we make a lifestyle change? It's so complicated. So today I wanted to remind everyone that you have many of the tools that form the foundation of mental health and well-being, and you don't need to add a bajillion hacks. And if you are also like me and you're browsing a lot on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is, and you sometimes leave just feeling like, oh, I'm not doing enough, I haven't learnt enough, I'm missing something, you are not alone, and you do actually have all the tools that you need. So I wanted to present an alternative view, which is really just all about going back to the basics. And I wanted to credit my friend Jessica Wellen. She recently released an ebook that I'll link down below, but it was just a really good reminder about mental health. And she uses the analogy of a table and how this table is made up of foundational things. And it's things like sleep, getting more than 7 hours of sleep a night, because research has shown that if you get less than that, your brain is acting as if it's tipsy or it's drunk. It's a really cool paper, I highly recommend. How many of us are actually making sure that we are getting to bed on time, that we have adequate space before bed to actually wind down so that we can sleep? Second thing, connecting with people and having some sort of social interaction, just having a chat to people or giving back or checking in with family and friends. It's just part of who we are. That needs to be another kind of leg. Moving our bodies and having some sort of exercise. Humans are not meant to be, this is something I noticed the other day, like when I drive, I'm like this. Like my neck is so out and I'm so slouched and I'm so tense, and I do that for so long. And then same with the computer. And having the mobility and the movement and just getting your body going, that gives us a heap of dopamine and endorphins. It's just good for our body to put it under stress sometimes. We're not meant to be in perfectly coddled, warm environments. Things like connecting to nature and having some level of connection to the earth instead of this like concrete jungle that we're in. Food, nutrition, making sure that we have a variety of foods and that we have enough to fuel our body in the activities that we need. In all of these kind of legs of our chair, just making sure that we're working towards keeping them as balanced as possible. And it's very natural that things will change, you know. Our table wobbles. This is natural. The table is never meant to be completely still. Our well-being is never just this like, oh, I'm happy every day. That's not how humans operate. At certain points, we need to throw ourselves out of balance in order to like go for something and to be motivated and to, you know, go out partying with friends or work really, really hard on an assignment, or, you know what, you're so passionate about uploading that YouTube video that you just plan it for an entire week, and yeah, it throws things out of balance, but that's also a part of life and that's good. So just understanding that you guys know the foundations, and obviously caveat with severe mental health disorders, a lot of the stuff that we're working on in a clinic, yeah, it's not as simple as just telling someone to improve their sleep or improve their food or improve their socializing. Like there is deeper stuff going on. But for many of us, I think it's just a healthy reminder to go, you don't need more, you have enough, you know kind of what makes up the table. And if you don't, have a think about what are the things that make you feel like you and make you feel fulfilled. I guess TLDR, all I'm saying is be aware of the idea that we all have an innate sense of what helps us mentally. Don't feel like you're not matching up or you don't have enough and that you need to go and find more hacks, because often it's not about finding more hacks, it's just about following through with a couple of them. If a Huberman podcast or a TikTok creator inspires you, take that and just work with it for a while. Like sit with it for a while and really workshop it into your schedule and your lifestyle, as opposed to going, okay, well, I'm taking that and that and that, and every day we're building on new stuff. It's too much for our brain to absorb. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I'd love to know your thoughts if you feel that way or maybe you don't. As a result of this, I've been much more aware of my consumption of social media, and I posted a video I think recently about how I did a detox, and just reducing all of the noise that everyone else is inputting has actually helped me listen to myself more. And I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves that our body is sending us signals for what it needs. Our body is telling us, our body is all we need really to understand what to do next, and it's not that we need to go and listen to all of the experts around us, because we are ultimately the expert of ourselves, and taking the time to actually listen to this big expert as opposed to allocating all of it to listen to everyone else is going to be more helpful for our mental health. So yeah, best of luck, and let me know if that was helpful, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye.